I mean, if there's anything, yeah, we'll see. It might be a nothing burger meeting.
I hope not.
No, I'm just kidding.
We have to figure out this May 30th thing.
Right. Well, it looks like you've done a lot of work, actually.
Yeah, we did some work, but I want to make sure you guys are good with it. And I think we need to just, mostly what I need you guys for is to, or maybe I'll share my screen
Okay.
and look at it.
Okay.
Nope, that's not it.
Yeah.
Yikes.
I'm having trouble with my computer. Oh, geez.
It was working before. Oh wait, here it is. Here we go. Here we go. All right, now. What am I doing wrong? Can you guys see that?
No.
No.
Oh, darn.
Which document are you looking to share?
It was the outline that Susan and I worked on yesterday.
It's the one you sent. I could share my screen if I
Okay.
have permission. Do I have permission?
Yeah, I think I did that already.
Okay, let me see. Here we go. Is that it?
That is it.
Yeah.
Oops. Hang on. There we go. Oh, screen sharing has stopped.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Did I? It could be me.
It says multiple participants can share simultaneously, so it should be working.
Okay, let's try again. Event, document, event, timelines suggested. There we go. Is it
Wait,
back?
It's
Yeah.
back. Yep.
Good.
Can you see it? Yeah.
Okay, great.
Okay. So I guess the first thing we need to confirm is who will be attending from the Housing Oversight Task Force.
Deborah and I will be there for sure.
Yeah,
Right.
Um,
I think
can
Judith is
imagine Judith-
planning
yeah,
and
Judith will be there.
Laura.
and Laura. Okay, good.
And I don't think we could speak for anyone else at this point.
Right.
Okay.
We'd have to verify that, whether
Right.
Richard and Jeff and
Right.
um,
I mean, we've spoken to
Michael,
them, but we haven't
Right.
confirmed. So, but we should with all of them, actually.
Yeah.
we're meeting on the day of that event in
Right.
the morning, and we can reinforce people's attendance then too.
But
it
we were
might be good-
talking about sending out an email this week, which we
Yeah.
can do, and just to, after we meet with you, to find out what we need to tell them or ask them. And
Yeah,
it's obviously one of those things.
because we were thinking that we would have people sit at tables. And so we'd like to have one Housing Oversight Task Force member at each table to act as an expert during the discussion sessions.
Well, we'll certainly pass that on
Yeah,
to
because,
the members.
can-
And how many tables will there be?
well, that's what we're trying to figure out. If there's only 4 of you, then we can only have 4 tables, but that'll be a lot of people at one table.
Yeah, I think we should try to strive for a greater number.
Yeah, I think so
Um,
too.
So
I mean-
we'll have to determine who's coming. I actually believe that it's possible that we could have 6 of the 7.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have one member that
6 would be good.
could very well not come
Right.
because personal reasons, but
Yeah.
that we can count on 6. So that would be 2 more,
Okay.
and we could strive. Deborah and I can strive to twist arms or whatever it takes to get people there.
Right.
I would appreciate that. Twist
Oh.
away.
Yeah.
I mean, they're certainly passing it along that this is happening. That I've
Mhm.
heard from different, certainly Laura is making it very, has been getting the word out, and others have been mentioning it.
Okay, good.
Judy has. So,
But I get your point is that questions are going to come up and they do come up and they have been coming up
Mhm.
about the code. And comments are being, raised about the code, the draft law, I should say.
Mhm.
And so it's important that we capture what people's comments are at this event.
Right.
And Deborah, this could be a big part of our gathering input because this,
Mhm.
many people may not want to, or may not feel compelled enough to
write.
write and go to the
Yeah.
site and log in
Yeah.
and do everything.
Yeah.
Whereas in a setting like this, they'll take greater liberty to express themselves.
Yeah. I mean, I would take the tact, depending on how this meeting goes, I think note takers will be really important.
Yeah,
And any comments and information that people
Mhm.
share or offer, they don't even have to be signed. They can just be, participants said, these
Right.
things were
Well,
heard.
that's what we were thinking, that we would have a large piece of paper or two at each table, but I have to go to the community center and figure out if that will actually work and put the big paper on the wall so people we have a scribe that says, this was a big discussion point, or this was a question, and kind of take public notes in that way.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then have the scribe or the reporter be someone who reports back to the whole group for 3 minutes. They get 3 minutes. These were the big things that we talked about. and these are the
exactly. Yeah,
questions.
that would be an
Yeah,
excellent
that'd be
way of
great.
gathering input.
Yeah.
And that has worked tremendously well at other community meetings, like during the comprehensive plan and other such meetings where,
Mhm.
and so again, I think easels are the best way to
Yeah.
have it, so that way it's upright,
Right.
it's independent of
Yeah.
the table, people can see what's being
Yes.
written. So if
Yes.
it's being written incorrectly or improper, whatever.
Where do
if
we
they
get
could-
enough easels though? 'Cause-
Well, we have, we use easels consistently at our events at Woodstock Transition. So I can ask, with the one
Oh.
person has 2 easels. So there's 2 there. That's
Deborah
only
has
4
2.
remaining.
I have 2.
You have
on
2. So
the-
there's
the
now, we
la-
only need 2 more.
And the
So,
Land Conservancy
Right.
has some,
right.
unless those are the ones you're talking
Does the
about.
town not have, does the town not have?
No, the town does not have easels.
No.
And that's not something that's supplied at any event I've ever attended or sponsor or been a part of it at the community center. There's never really been any of that kind of equipment available. So, but I believe just in the short list, just between the 3 organizations, we could probably get
Six.
Who could I ask at
6.
WLC?
Ellie
Ellie.
Reese.
Oh, okay. I know Ellie well.
Yeah, and
Okay.
so she would be able to
Oh, great.
coordinate. And
Okay.
then I can arrange for 2 to be made available from Woodstock Transition.
Okay.
You can make note of that.
Yeah.
And I'll own that responsibility. And Deborah, you said you
I
own
have 2.
2
Well, I
already.
should
So-
just probably buy pads then.
And pads would be great. And the best pads to get would be ones that you can peel and put on the wall. That is
Right.
like big Post-its.
Yeah,
Because
That's true.
otherwise you flip it over and you don't see it anymore.
right.
And so that would be really good to have. And I think that having a scribe, someone who's comfortable writing in public,
Mhm.
standing up,
Yeah.
that's sort of the criteria,
Right.
because many people are not comfortable with their own writing and they may be
Oh.
hesitant to be exposed
I-
to writing.
Yeah, I think
just-
each table can elect their scribe, or, someone will volunteer.
Yeah.
Howard is writing something.
Yeah, he said he must be trying to get it on the old link, I think.
Yeah, I think he needs the new link.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did I send that to him?
That would be great if you could, or I can go on my other computer here.
Wait a minute.
Well, I think Deborah will do it. But so the other thing about note taking, as Deborah pointed out, is that another thing that we've done, just as a FYI,
Mhm.
it doesn't need to be done this way, but if you get a roll of paper and make a tablecloth out of it
Mm.
for each table
Mm,
and give people markers, people can write on the table And that too can be rolled up and assembled in the way that you would assemble other comments. But it's maybe redundant at this point.
Yeah,
But
it might take
is
too long, I'm thinking.
Yeah,
don't have
that
that
does take
time.
longer to, yeah.
I'm just telling you that that's what we've done in other
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
circumstances
Yeah.
where sort of a brainstorming, but we're not really brainstorming, we're informing and
Mhm.
creating curiosity around a specific topic, in this case. the
Can
code.
I ask a question? I just wondered, Kirk,
Sure.
based on what you've just said and the things that we sort of touched on at our last meeting as well. Do you think there is it's a good idea or not to perhaps have some mention of the issues that we're already hearing are being raised, so that, and then to get, not even get discussion going, but sort of, just to kind of set the scene for so there, no one's sitting there thinking, oh, well, what could it be? I don't know. I just wonder if there
It's a very good question, Laura, and I think that Deborah may have some comment to that. But there is a very often in my experience in version 1 is that there was a sort of certain issues bubble up because they get repeated often, and so that bubbling up is something that we could point out. And that being said, I think that maybe more so, and Catherine, and when you were talking with Susan,
Mhm.
how was it that you were thinking of framing this complexity of the code to the
Well,
group?
we have to get down to that part.
Yeah,
That's the next page, but I just have one quick question about supplies.
Okay,
yeah. And
How
before
do
but I
we-
want to
Yeah.
revisit this with Laura when we get down to that page.
Yes, we
okay?
will.
and
We'll
I
go
wanted
there.
to ask something about that, that's related
Yeah,
to the issues bringing that up. So maybe we'll,
Just a quick question for Kirk, or I can connect with you before you go away, Kirk, is how do we project the presentation in the community center? Because
oh, well, you have to get a screen. You're gonna have to find a screen. The library screen is, unless they've purchased a new one, it's not in
they
good
don't have a
shape.
drop down screen?
No, there's not a
Uh-uh.
drop down screen at the community center.
Yeah.
So the screens that are available are ones that from, again, private nonprofits, like the Land Conservancy, and Ellie could,
Okay.
asked Ellie if we've used theirs in the past, and that then needs to be placed on the stage to give it elevation.
Right,
And then a table needs to be placed, 10 feet in front of it. And
right,
then the projector is available from the town. You can
Okay.
reserve the projector from the town, and they will supply that to you, but you have to reserve it through Jackie.
Jackie.
Tell her ahead of time that you need
Yeah,
the
I'll do that
projector.
right away. We need a
Yeah.
projector.
Right.
Can you hook it
And-
up to your laptop?
And then it has to run through a computer.
Mhm.
And if it's an Apple, you need to have the person who owns the Apple to bring their own personal adapter. It looks like this,
Okay,
but if it's a PC, then there won't be a need for an adapter. And then all of that should be set up way before, because you may run into AV complications.
I know.
So
May, there's never a May about it.
yeah, exactly.
There's always a
So
definite.
and so there needs to be some kind of sometimes reformatting the screen from the computer so that it's
Yeah,
properly proportioned and all that garbage
yeah.
goes
These are
on.
the things that give me anxiety. So,
Right. And
Yeah.
a lot of and most people have anxiety around it. So
Yeah.
it would probably be appropriate to
like,
have
how
someone
soon would
that's
you get
capable of dealing with AV around that particular piece of equipment with computer
Okay.
projection machinery,
Yeah.
which there are many people that know about that. But it might even be that it would be best to get it and test it out with that particular computer that's doing it
Yeah,
through that particular machine, so that you
Right.
know that it's going to work
that's a good
effectively.
idea.
And you're not under pressure in the moment to
Yeah,
get it set up. That way, at least you
Mhm.
have some certainty that
yeah,
you have at least addressed the issues you'll face, and
yeah.
and that way. So that's also a recommendation I make.
Okay, thanks, Kirk. All right, let's move on to the agenda.
Can-
Can you
can
go
I-
to the next page? Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Sorry, what happened to my screen sharing is paused. What happened here?
Well, we're
Ah.
still seeing it. We're still seeing
Yeah,
the
we're still
page that
seeing
you're
it.
sharing.
Oh, I wonder if it's because I went to get to send Howard. There we go.
Yeah.
Okay,
There
so
you
is, okay, so can I just, before we jump into this, can I just,
Yep.
because I read this and there were a couple of things and it does relate a little bit to what Laura was saying, but I think we'll get into that.
Mhm.
So, is part of what we're going to do is to recap and describe the process, because one of the things that I'm finding in talking to people on the street is they don't really know what's happened,
Mhm.
and they don't know what the process is, and they don't know, and this does get to issues that have been raised, they don't know the fact of
Mhm.
how many groups we reached out to and how much input we got during the process. I know I saw in Laura's, in Susan's letter, she mentioned some of that. I think, maybe confusing letters to the editor because I've seen a few of them this week. But I think it's important to the group that's gathered there to hear together what, as quickly as possible.
Yeah,
not
if we can
at
do it
length,
quickly.
very, very quickly,
Yeah.
what, what and what was done, and then what the process is now, because people are going to gather, they're going to talk to each other, and then this information is then going to potentially be part of comments, and then there'll be other opportunities for people to give comments.
Okay, well, so to back up, Susan suggested that the housing committee open it up, is explaining what we're doing, and this is the goal, these are the goals of this meeting. And then we're going to introduce the Housing Oversight Task Force, and then we could have the process slide. How does that sound?
That sounds good to me. I don't know, Kirk,
Yeah.
what do you think?
Yeah, that'd be fine. We have those slides in what we presented on the.
Yeah.
Right,
the
we
9th
can
of
give you
May.
anything
Right.
we can give you our whole presentation, and you
Yeah.
can
I
take
need to
from it.
get the document that I can actually work with instead of a PDF.
So that's through Canva, which is
Yeah,
what we
yeah,
use.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah,
what
yeah.
I can do is I think I can add you to my team,
Okay,
and then
good.
that lets you in to make changes
Okay.
or copy them.
I think you
can
need to
then-
make a copy,
You
Deborah.
can make a
of-
copy of it. Sorry, don't make changes. Make
Yeah, I
a
don't want to
copy.
change your thing.
No, make a
I have-
copy of the Canva, and then you can pull out the slides.
I have a question about Canva. Is it not possible that you can just download into Google Slides? You can't move into Google Slides?
No, I tried and I asked Jeff about it.
This
He
is the
said you
problem with
can't.
this.
I think I don't like it for that reason.
Yeah, it's a proprietary software. It's just like
Yep.
PowerPoint, and but it's
Yep.
on the web, and it just kind of limits
Yep.
collaboration.
It does.
And
I
so is there
agree.
any way that we could if you could upload a PDF to Google Docs into slides, and then that way you have a working document?
What we could do, and I'm wondering in this copying, if we could go copy these slides somehow. We might have to do it individually. I'll explore,
Yeah.
actually ask my daughter.
Copy them into where, Deborah, were you thinking?
I'm sorry, Laura, what'd you say?
What, copy the slides into where, would Deborah?
Into
that's what I'm
Google.
trying to
We want
figure
to
out,
bring it
into
into like a
Google.
Google
I
environment so
mean,
that.
if you download them through, if you in Canva, you can say, you can share, you click share, and then you can say download. What happens if you download
It's
the
a PDF.
presentation? Oh, it's already
It's
a
only a
PDF.
PDF.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
Deborah, we have that PDF already.
We do.
And so why couldn't we take that PDF and upload that PDF into Google Drive?
Yeah.
And then now you have a PDF in Google Slides. and
But
you
it
have
won't
an
be in
environment.
slides. It'll just be in,
You can convert it. Once you're in Drive, you can convert it to
I,
slides.
I've never done that, but I'm no expert. I'm
Yeah.
totally not an expert.
Let's
I
give it a
would-
try. Let's give it
I
a
The
would-
try.
thing about converting the is, I mean, it's what format is the PDF? Is it Adobe, like as a PDF would normally be?
Oh, it's Canva.
Yeah, you're certainly
bet.
going to lose, some of the formatting of slides, but that doesn't really
Yeah.
matter. You know, you.
I mean, what we could do with Canva, which you can do with Google Slides too, and PowerPoint, is to move elements around on a slide. Once you
Right.
put it in a PDF, you can't do that.
Right.
Exactly, that's the problem. Once it's in
Yeah.
the PDF, you're stuck.
Unless you have Adobe.
Well, and then
Right.
you have to have a premium Adobe account.
Exactly.
Otherwise,
You have
it
to have
doesn't-
Adobe
yeah.
Writer. You have to have
Yeah.
Adobe Writer, not just Adobe Reader.
I think
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
think you need to simplify this process.
Right.
I've
That's,
never been-
I would be interested to know if, I mean, I think we have, but Deborah, let's just, you and I see what we can do with it.
We'll
in the
try, we'll
meantime.
we'll check it out and we'll let you know, like, right, as soon as possible,
Thank you.
like tonight or something. I mean,
Okay.
yeah.
Or
I'd
tomorrow
like-
morning's fine.
Well, not, yeah,
Yeah,
not for me,
it's
and then Kirk's going away anyway, so
Alright.
we want to get to you as soon as possible.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay.
All right, we'll check that out.
Okay, so then Susan suggested this structure to break it into 3 parts. Affordable housing, what is it? Affordable housing, what might it look like? And affordable housing, where could it be? And this page is messy because we haven't figured out what we'll be saying, but we're trying to speak directly to all the people there who are more interested in, like, what is affordable housing? And
Well, that's a big question we've heard.
I know. So that's kind of why we're starting with it. And this slide needs a lot of work, but
Mhm.
that's the goal.
So there's 3 parts. There's what is it?
Yeah, then
What
there's
would it
what
look
might it
like?
look like. So the
And
thought
where?
was we'd take the slides from your presentation and put in, the cluster cottages, continuing care, tiny houses, the multi-family units, the ADUs.
Right.
And then I think the narrative has to sort of explain, like, how this is different from the previous law.
Okay, yeah, current, yeah.
Make it just really simple for people to understand, like, this is what it can look like.
Mhm.
Okay.
So
And
then,
then-
this is the part, this is the part where I just made stuff up yesterday. If you go back to the table discussion, this is where I need help.
This one?
No, keep going. It's after
The
affordable.
other
housing.
way, the
What
other
is
way.
it?
Go the other
Um,
way, Deborah.
Going the wrong way, sorry.
There we
right.
go. No. Table discussion, 20 minutes.
Oh, okay.
That's good, we're there.
No, wait, that's the second one. Sorry, you have to go back over.
There you go, stop.
There it is, there. So here's where you assign the reporter to summarize the topics and questions in the table discussion. And then, so this is the stuff I made up, but maybe we need to guide this differently. Like, who would the housing be for? What style of housing would we like to see in our town? How does the current law provide for multifamily housing? And what will the new law provide for? Can we have community gardens and walking paths? What kind of landscaping could there be, et cetera? So you guys would have more ideas about this than I did just trying to do this yesterday.
Well, my first thought is the what would it look like can
Mhm.
also say what it won't look like.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
Because, it's not going to be big apartment buildings.
Right.
It's not going to be clunky, military style barracks.
Right.
It's not going to, it's not going to be a lot of blacktop. So, I mean, I don't know, you don't want to get too much in it, but you could do some of
Yeah.
that. But then it really is going to depend on what's being proposed. But there's certain things that are going to be required criteria, whether it's environmental siting.
Mhm.
In some instances, it's a certain amount of open space. It could be landscaping, could be screening. Those are and all of that, and Kirk, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that the idea is that this gets worked out with the planning board during their review process. In
Mhm.
fact, even before they formally review something, they want to sit down with the applicant to really come up with something that is relevant for Woodstock and in scale and size. I mean, certain criteria are baked in. It can't be more than 8 units in a building. It can't be more than X number of feet, a long and wide footprint.
I my thought about the discussion topics is building on what you've just said, is should they be a little bit more not prescribed, but rather, I think this could just be get into things that people give as a wish list, but don't really match up with what are the parameters of reality and possibility, like what sort of kind of landscaping. So I don't know, maybe if sort of, having some potential ideas there that can help focus the discussion around things that are going to get to the nitty gritty of what, as you said, Deborah, like dressing the what it won't be as much as it will be, and things like that. I don't know. Bearing in mind, we've only got 20 minutes. What kind of landscaping could there be? I could imagine maybe somebody might go, well, I'd like a pollinator garden, and we'd like
Yeah,
this.
but that's good stuff, right? That's what we want. Don't we want a pollinator garden?
But you're not going to mandate a pollinator
it's not
garden. You
Right.
might mandate native species, which is in the code. That is one of the things we've proposed.
Yeah.
Right.
Or, certain kinds of resilient tree species or things like that. We got input from the tree committee, which we incorporated and brought in some of those ideas.
Well, that's why I just
Yeah.
wondered, would it be a good idea to have either some cards or just some headers for discussion that could sort of give some little bits of information around, there are going to be native species, there are going to be some key words that could trigger more questions and discussion rather than just a very, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know how to make this work, honestly.
I think Howard had his hand up.
Yeah,
there.
let Howard.
Speaking of what would it look like, we have that project a couple of years ago. Was it Woodstock Commons? Isn't that what it's called?
Yeah,
Yes.
The Repco one? What
it
is the
was
reaction?
15 years ago.
Oh, 15, wow. What is the reaction of those buildings? I mean, in my opinion, I thought they were pretty nice, but what's the public's reaction to that development?
Everyone's pleased with it.
Now.
No one ever sees it.
Yeah.
Right.
That's one of the reasons why everyone's pleased with it. But
Yeah.
some of the buildings are, much larger than what we would be,
Yeah.
would be allowed today.
Right.
It's
with
quite,
the-
sorry.
the draft code, but I think that aesthetically, they're very attractive.
Mhm.
And that's what people feel. I mean, the people in the neighborhood who resisted it drastically,
They flipped
all-
around
they have all sort of come around to
Right.
saying
to have.
it doesn't, nothing that they feared has happened.
Right.
And it hasn't disrupted or ruined the value of their
Yeah.
neighborhood.
Right.
And they're living with it. They're
Oh,
embracing
I'm
it.
glad to hear that. at least.
Yeah, yeah.
I have to say, I have heard some voices of dissent from people who are neighbours, just to say, I'm not an overwhelming amount, but I could imagine that the voices of dissent could be there. So I kind of think we need to be prepared for that. Like, for example, I've heard neighbours who are near the development saying that the it's not pleasant. They can, they don't find the people that live there cordial, and yeah. So I'm just kind of saying I think we should be just a bit aware.
Mhm.
Sure.
Deborah?
So just really quickly on that, I would say that exists everywhere, but people are more vocal when it's a more affordable housing kind of
Of course.
project, because I don't find my neighbors cordial. I don't, I mean, I don't mind that they keep to themselves or whatever, but I think you know, this gets to, I think, dispelling some of the myths, and also maybe to try and get at, this isn't a free for all. So we're not telling people you get to decide what all the housing that's going to be in the town. It's whoever builds the housing is going to decide in conjunction with the planning board. That's the way it works. If somebody owns property, they work with the regulatory system to come up with a plan that meets the regulations, and then they do it. And so that's one thing. But then also there are people, and there may be some of these people we ought to invite, Susan and I know a couple of them, to the meeting, who were opposed, who now feel very positive about it,
Yeah.
and can speak to the fact that I've completely changed my view. You know, in
That's
fact, she did some interviews. So, you know, I think part of what may come up on the negative side is fears that people have and myths that persist. And then also kind of just recognize that, like anybody who's building a home, these are homes for people. You know, there's this kind of thing, like these aren't really homes. They're just, you know, places you plot people in who don't have a lot of money.
Right.
I don't know. So
Yeah. Can we
I
go
think
back
I
to
think
the
that's
table?
very powerful. I think that's
Yeah.
very powerful.
No, I
Deborah.
agree.
I think it's some of that sentiment and message, and that we really need to get across. And you know, again, sort of how is there an effective way, and is this an appropriate forum to sort of, you know, openly sort of say myths, you know, things, fears, that we actually have those up, even if they're on a board somewhere, so that people can see, okay, let's get them out there, rather than, because I think that's what's going to be the thing that drives people as much as anything to the meeting. So
Right. So do you think that should be a discussion topic? Like, should that be a question that we ask our table, or
What's the question?
like,
What
what are you afraid of?
yeah, what are your
Well,
fears? What
Yeah.
are your
What are your
concerns?
concerns? Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
What-
since you bring up, you know, your second discussion point was, what is it going to look like?
Yeah.
Deborah, you mentioned that we don't decide what it's look like. It's the developer and the builder that decides what it looks like. So
right.
we should treat that carefully, because
Yeah, I think that question probably should be lined out. I don't
Yeah.
think it's people. Well, you're giving the people an impression that they can choose what the building's
Exactly,
going to look like. And
exactly.
so that's something that should be removed. I was going to suggest something though, when the third one down, how does the current law provide for multifamily housing, and what does the new law provide?
That's a good one.
By going up to going through just a little bit above on this page, I can't quite see it all because of the screen, but when we talk about right there, when we talk about the various types of cottages in tiny homes and things, and 3 and 4, we could talk about there. We could say what's allowed now and what will be allowed.
That would be great.
So we could address that in this circumstance
Right.
when we're speaking to the various structures
Yeah.
that are being introduced into the code. And that way we then address, and you could remove that from a discussion down below, because that's a deep and wide discussion, that, you know, what's current and what's not, what's in the new. The other thing is that you know, the things you're mentioning about community gardens and paths and walking paths, these things are we do mention walkability and complete streets and bike paths in the code. But one of the things I think that just could be stated overall, and that is mentioned in the code, is that the current code and the current law for people who build their homes, the single family homes, there's like almost no requirements other than the building code.
Right.
And the multifamily dwellings that we're proposing, they are under strict criteria.
Right.
Right.
That's a good
Strict.
thing to mention.
you know? So this probably needs to be articulated, and that strict
Yeah.
criteria has to do, you mentioned landscaping, and that landscaping is there to help create privacy from the neighbors,
Right.
help create visual blocks from the cars. These things are required.
And also the native species was brought in
Right.
because it's
Yeah.
Woodstock and people care about that.
Exactly. Well, I
So
was just trying to figure out how, excuse me, how to get people excited, you know,
Right.
like,
So
oh,
I think
I would
we're
get
going-
excited about all of this.
I think some of the criteria, Deborah,
Yeah, I
is
agree.
listed in the use table
Yep.
Yeah,
that is for each of the, for the multifamily dwellings
yeah,
could
it
be
is. I was just
articulated.
reading it. Yeah.
Could be articulated. And the
Yep.
other thing I was thinking is that if there were some fact sheets
Yeah.
on the table,
Oh, that's a good
for
idea.
each table, so that people that had questions, they might be talking amongst themselves and they could just be pointed to, that's what, look at, it says that right here, what your question is. So that way we
Right.
don't have to spend time reviewing and rehashing what's already been stated or what somebody
Right.
didn't hear. So we could probably coordinate and give some, and use the existing materials, Deborah, that Nan has created,
Yeah,
printing the use table and other things like that, and reference these in our discussions. And
Yeah.
curate some of the discussion through pointing out like the use tables and such. So the use tables for everyone on the committee are actual tables that are in the code that the planning board references when they're reviewing with the prospective site plan. And they are guidelines for what is and what isn't possible
Mhm.
for said types of structures.
Have a go. Why, well, in that case, would an idea be to give out the fact sheets, to have them printed? I don't know how many different ones there are going to be.
There won't be that
But-
much material that people would be able to reference.
No, I
at the
just meant
table,
in
right?
terms of the different fact sheet. I don't know, but I'm just saying if
Yeah.
we gave them to people, we say there's 4 different fact sheets.
Yeah.
So we give them out to everyone on the table, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, you know, right? And then we say, read through the fact sheets, or let's have, you know, and write down any questions or discussion points, and maybe focus the discussion and the questions on the facts so that they then read, because that kind of focuses it down a bit rather than makes it very open.
Well, Laura, I think you're onto something, because basically what you're saying is that would give rise to their concerns or their thoughts. And we're guiding those concerns and thoughts based on the fact sheets. And I
into
think
facts.
that would be
Yeah.
better than to have these open-ended questions
right.
that could almost create, like someone said earlier, like a wish list. And we're
Yeah.
not, this is not the purpose of this event,
Right.
is to
Right.
create that kind of wish list. We're here to
Right.
help people gain an access to understanding what's
What's
taking place,
possible.
what's possible, what
Mhm.
the code represents, the opportunities it brings, how
Right.
is that tied back to the comprehensive plan and what it's
Yes.
addressing there. And
Yeah.
these things are what helps anchor and sort of organize people's thinking around
Yeah.
this very complex topic, right?
Yeah.
So Deborah, I think that you and I could probably go through some of the materials that Nan has created and maybe share this
Okay.
with the members of the housing committee here.
Yeah,
and
get you
let-
to look at it.
And let that all kind of percolate into what could be a useful set of
Yeah.
tools.
That sounds really good.
Okay.
Here's
I
a,
like
here's
that
a
idea a
question.
lot.
I just thought of a question that might be a hot topic. Who decides who lives here? If a development gets built, where do the tenants come from, and who decides who gets an apartment?
Well, the answer to that, Howard, on the short answer is it depends on the developer. Because if it's Rupco, they have to use a lottery, and that lottery is wide open to anybody that lives anywhere.
No,
And
within
so-
10 miles, they
Within
net, they,
10 right,
within 10
right.
miles of
But if
Woodstock.
you have
That's
another
exactly one of
developer, if you have another developer that's developing, they might go directly to the community and have applications solicited from the community of seniors and local essential workers, and work with the businesses and have a workforce housing. All of that might come right from within the community if that developer is local, for instance, Woodstock Housing Alliance. That's how we will approach the applicants, is we will solicit to the community and say, we're building these and please apply. And we're going to keep it within the community if as much as we can, because we want to draw on the
Mm.
existing.
I-
Yeah, and are the residents, is the requirement based on income?
Well, it
Could
is,
be.
there will be a criteria for that. And yes, it's meant to be for people who can't afford market rate.
Right.
That's what it's
So-
intended for.
So we need to describe who those people, I think back to one of your earlier points is describing who these people are. Because again, I'm just hearing all this them and us stuff.
Right.
And, you know, they're your neighbors, they're
Yeah, they're
seniors.
living here now, you know.
They're
Right.
people who work in the highway department. Do we not want people who work in the highway department
Yeah.
to live in our town? I mean, let's be honest. If I
Yeah.
look at my neighbors who are mostly wealthy people, none of them work for the town. Are they going to say, we don't want those people in our town because they're not at our standard? So what does that really say? And, you know, I hear what you're saying, Howard. You know, who are these people? They
Yeah.
could be anybody. They could be your neighbor. They could be somebody who's a teaching assistant or drives a school bus or
Right. Works
you
at the
know,
library.
or works
Yep.
at the library. None of the people who work at the library live in
Yeah,
Woodstock
that's what
Right.
Howard said.
because they can't afford it. Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
So
that would
are we
be-
adding a slide about this, do we think?
Well, we do have a slide from the previous
do.
presentation that we gave on the 9th, talking
Right.
about the people.
Who are the people?
Who are the
Right.
people and
Right.
sort of the human side of affordable
Right.
housing.
Oh,
And-
I like that phrase,
Yeah.
human side.
Yeah.
I
And
like that.
so that, you know, that's a big element. And Howard, your question sort of brings it up is like,
Yeah,
you know, we're doing this because there are people in our town that can't live here any longer. Those
Right.
people are our neighbors. And
Right.
those are the people we're building for.
Exactly.
You
Yes.
know?
exactly. Beautifully said.
Yeah, can we have a fact sheet then? Because I think it's really would be very useful. And I do think the question about how does the fact that they're depending on who the developer is might affect the decision on who, you know, who gets a place. I think that's something that people would find really helpful to appreciate the nuance of that. And
Yeah. I mean,
and
one of
it
the,
might-
Laura,
question.
to your point, I mean, there are a lot of people in this town that just do not like Rupco. If Rupco is there's because of the lottery. It's because of that. Even though
Right.
all those people that live at the Commons in some way, shape, or form were subjected to that lottery, and they're residents now. They live here,
Right.
right? And they draw upon. There are people that live here that moved into the Commons, and so it's not like they never have people from the area already move in, but it's a lottery.
I
you
know, and people don't like that. And I
They don't
think that-
like it. And
No.
so it's just a matter of, and then there could be another developer that would be, have their own criteria, or have their own ways in which they would do it. But frankly, we got a pool of people. We have a pool of people in this town who there'll be more places, more people than places with every single project.
Yeah.
There's no question about it.
Yeah, but if the people who already live in the town,
Yeah,
right,
that's
who
what we're
should- who
focused on.
should-
Yeah,
take
that's what we need to
priority.
say somehow. This
Who
is for
should-
our
yeah.
neighbors, yeah.
Yeah,
The
and there are
one
ways
thing-
you have to do that without
Mhm.
getting sued for discrimination, you know. and-
Absolutely.
And there's, you know, it's a delicate topic, but,
Right,
Yeah.
you know, I don't think we want to thread the needle we don't want to go over analytical, become too analytical around the matter. That's why if we just have a slide that talks about the human quality, the human aspect of affordable housing, and talk about the types of people that will be living in these apartments, are people that already live here. They want to remain here, and these are seniors that can't afford their homes anymore,
yeah.
that can't sell their homes because they wouldn't be able to stay here. So that's a real thing.
Yeah. Did
And
we
so
move on? I'm sorry, Kirk. but
I'm
we're
just telling
starting-
you that these are.
Yeah, no, we know,
topics.
yes.
Yeah.
We understand.
Sorry, I didn't.
The hardest part of this thing is the next section, I think, so I want to make sure we have time to
Where?
discuss it.
Where?
Right there, affordable housing, where could it be? This was Susan's way of encapsulating all these.
Well, we can
Uh,
again say where it isn't going to be. There are
Okay.
certain places that we are prohibiting some of the larger clusters of housing,
Okay.
like in the scenic overlay, and but it has to follow zoning districts. I mean,
Right.
it
Could be anywhere in the town.
could be anywhere.
Frankly, it can be anywhere in a town. If someone's just going to build a multifamily dwelling or a cluster of cottages, it could be in any hamlet in the town.
Except not in the scenic overlay.
And then you could have cottages built in the scenic overlay. So, that it's the multifamily dwellings, multifamily units that are not allowed in the scenic
Right.
overlay, but you
That's
could
true.
have,
Right,
so
right.
you could have construction, but it's the larger, as Deborah pointed out, it's the larger projects. We have 20, 30, 40 units. Those have they're greatly reduced
Right.
where they could be. But we're talking about, a property owner saying, oh, look at this new code. I want to build a triplex on my 5 acres that I own that's empty right now.
Yeah.
It could be Willow, could be Xena, it could be
Yeah.
anywhere in between.
Do these slides then work? Will this answer the question sufficiently, do you think, these slides
Zoning
from
code,
presentation last?
conservation and environmental criteria.
Where it could be. So I think that's a slightly different question, because then these are kind of how it would be.
Mm,
Because the subdivision code kind of maps out how it would be. The zoning code tells you where it would be. There's some overlap.
mm.
And yeah, it's,
I think this
No,
has to be approached differently, what you have
would-
here.
I do too.
I think,
but
Deborah, maybe you should work with Susan and Catherine a little bit on this if you have the
Try.
time.
And I'll do my best, Kirk.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
And maybe, Catherine, we could offline this and just have a discussion,
Yeah.
because I think there's a way of going about this where,
Yeah,
I get what you and Susan are trying to get to, because people are raising concerns about, oh my God, it's going to be everywhere.
Right.
And there's that, and
well, we could say it's not, first
Yeah.
of all.
It's
yeah.
not going to be everywhere, but it is going to be everywhere.
Well, it's allowed everywhere, but
Yeah.
here's the thing, it's like,
But not everything is
Ev-
allowed everywhere. Not
ADUs have been allowed in every single property on our town since 1998, and there are not ADUs everywhere.
That's right. But also multifamily is not allowed everywhere.
Right.
So certain things are not, certain level of density or bigness is not allowed everywhere. I don't know how to use those terms, like
Yeah.
really getting it down to those very basic,
Yeah.
big, what people seem to not like. They don't like them and they don't like big. And they
Right.
don't like it in their backyard.
Right. And
But
they don't like density either.
I mean,
I,
don't you-
look at the single family home on Xena Road that looks like a big barn. It has a short-term rental permit and it's a residential use. So it was not subject to any criteria.
We're on Xena.
It's right,
Oh, I know where it is. It's by the S turn.
It's the one,
Yes.
it's the one that has 1869 on the roof?
Yeah, yeah,
Yes,
on the roof.
yes,
yeah.
yes.
The
That's
white
a
one,
single
yeah.
family dwelling. Single
It's a
family
single
dwelling.
family. It
It's
was
probably about
permitted
5,000 square feet.
more, I think.
Yeah.
But it was
Yeah.
permitted as a single family house. It got a short-term rental permit. So it got in under the cap, and that's what it is. And there is nothing that tells them anything about how they have to do that building.
Which is such a shame because it's the most incredibly. They
I
must
mean,
have,
talk about out of scale. So I guess our point is we've directed housing in ways that are modest, that are more in keeping with what is already existing, that are not out of scale
Or
and out of,
character.
or character, and that have to be cited with very strict environmental criteria.
Right.
Do you know how much they try and rent that for a month? Just FYI.
No.
I don't, it's a
Let's
lot.
stay on topic here. 'cause we're trying-
$22,000 a month.
Oh,
That's
Lord.
ridiculous.
I
Yeah,
know.
so,
So we're gonna go
Yeah.
offline, Kirk and Deborah, or just Kirk? When are you leaving, Kirk?
I'm leaving Sunday
Okay,
and I'll be back, I'm leaving the 20th and coming back, 21st and coming back on the 27th.
great.
But,
Just for
the,
this section.
I think that we need to revisit this section
Yeah,
and we need to discuss it offline.
that sounds.
Yeah.
And I think that
so.
there's ways in which we've approached this through our presentation
Yeah,
that could be basically, we could address
Okay.
here, again, leverage what
Very
we've
helpful.
already done.
Mhm.
And because again, this is information about the code and there's no reason why we can't leverage that presentation. That was a lot of energy and time was spent on. You could just patch it in wherever you feel is needed rather than trying to reinvent the wheel.
yeah, I agree with that. There is actually already a lot of stuff. It may be slightly different presented or the
Right.
images may be different, but I think it will fit in with your messaging.
Okay.
And I think that might help to shape this, because I don't think your questions are the wrong questions necessarily, but it's how it gets expressed in terms of images and points to make.
And
Yeah,
one thing that I believe that's not here yet is a definition of affordable housing.
Right,
That was in the beginning.
Well, let's go back up to it because one of the things that that people, the old definition and the new definition.
Okay.
So yeah, this is which 30% of the monthly
This-
income.
I got that from the Housing Smart website.
Okay, fine, that was great,
Yeah.
but affordable housing is middle class housing today. Middle
Right.
class.
it is.
Okay, it's essential worker class housing. It's senior housing. It is not the kind of housing that people in the 20th century think of affordable. It's not
Right.
just Section 8 and poor people.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
not what it is, right?
Right.
It is much greater than that, and we have to lead with that because it's right. Kathy Hochul redefined affordable housing in her State of the State address in January. Redefined it, right? And that's what we need to do. We need to help our community understand that there is a new definition of affordable housing. And I think
Can I make,
yeah,
sorry. Go on. Sorry, I was going to make a suggestion that would be very helpful. I don't know if you can create one. Is a pie chart with, that somehow sort of shows what percentage of the town or of the county of whatever is actually, and then that's the affordable housing section of the pie, and then all the some of the groups that could fall into that, be it whoever, just to kind of really have a visual impact.
Mm.
In a pie chart of the income that various people, the population of the town or the county
Sure.
has? Is that
Well,
what
just how many, what percentage, what portion, what proportion of the town fall within the affordable, would qualify for how, affordable
I
housing
think
under
we
their
have enough up-to-date demographic information though to do that,
Right.
honestly, because the census is getting old and
Okay.
also
Yeah.
I don't
Alright.
know how to make a pie chart, so unless you know how to make one. I mean, I don't know how to do that graphic.
when we did a presentation at Woodstock Housing Alliance, we referred to a case study.
Mhm.
And in the past 15 years, this one organization that's been building affordable housing. And then they had a pie chart of all the people that live in it. And it was architects and real estate people and tradespeople. And these were all people that they're working, right?
Right.
And so that kind of pie chart, I could share with you that slide,
Yeah.
Sounds
you know,
good.
and that would be something that we could reference, say, hey, these are people that are working,
Yeah.
And that would just be a case study. And that, because part of what you're saying, Laura, is that there isn't enough housing in Ulster County. And so the people that you're talking about building for and Deborah, do you remember when Evelyn did a
Right.
presentation back in 2020.
Yep,
And she did a demographic slice.
we have those slides.
Those slides are powerful.
We
Yeah.
have those
Yeah,
slides.
they could be
from-
brought in. You
from
want to
the
share that
county.
slideshow with
Sure.
Catherine and Susan and let them pick from there, because those are real,
Yeah.
that's real data.
That's really good. Yep.
Okay,
So
where are they?
Evelyn's slideshow, and then obviously the Canvas slides that we have, and then Kirk may have some things from the Housing Alliance.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And I have a question for you, Catherine. Are
Yeah.
you, do you have a diagram of all the agencies and issues in our town? Like you have the town board and housing committee and all the various people.
We have a list of that, which you were gonna use as a handout with
Okay,
description.
because we had a slide in our housing,
Yeah, I
Woodstock Housing
remember.
Alliance.
Yeah, that
and
was
that-
a good slide.
Yeah, so you want me to just give you that slide? You could use that.
Sure, but we're not gonna
You
put
know,
it in presentation, right? We're just,
No, I mean,
we're
it's
gonna
gonna
do
be
a handout. It could be
Yeah.
part of the handout. Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, I can
Yeah.
share that.
That would be
And,
great. Can we just go back to the end here,
yeah,
Deborah? So for the final discussion, have the group come back together. We talked last week about having a panel discussion, and yesterday I wasn't so sure that was a good idea because I don't know, maybe it's too much, like we're have enough going on in this. We probably will take up the 2 hours.
Yeah, you do have a lot going on.
Yeah.
mhm.
So maybe we don't need it.
I mean, the pool, the motor's not running?
Yeah, I think what you're doing here with the 3 minutes per
Yeah,
table
wow.
is awesome. I think it's
Yeah.
great. That's
Yeah.
gonna present a lot of
Yeah.
synergy
Yeah.
Mhm.
and a lot of people hearing from others and letting that bubble up. And then, Catherine, is there anyone in this group or anyone amongst the task force or anyone amongst everybody, the pool of people that you have that could sort of facilitate the end of this and sort of wrap it up?
We need a wrap.
Yeah, you need someone to sort of encapsulate, review everything that's happened for the evening and sort of emceeing it,
I mean,
and if there's
Susan's
any,
pretty good at that, but she's
I was
not
thinking
here.
Susan would be the best one for that.
pardon?
I think Susan would be the best person for that.
I think there
She's
needs to be
so
someone that sort of
confident in all
holds
this.
holds the evening and
Right.
holds the evening and allows people to just feel like, yeah, this has been worth my while.
Right.
Right.
If
This is
she's
great.
willing to do that, if
And-
she's willing to do that, she certainly is capable.
Yeah, I agree. And
So
our,
I think that would be the way to end it, is allow someone to
Yeah.
sort of orchestrate a conclusion
Yeah.
based on their own personal experience of the evening and
Mhm.
everything that they've witnessed, and then the summation from the tables, and just sort of allow people to hold that.
And in that, I would also say to just remind people about the next step. The opportunity to continue the conversation, to make comments, to read all the documents on the website, to look at the presentation on the YouTube channel.
We
you
could give
know.
that slide that could be part of the presentation if you
Oh,
wanted to
that's true. the
present it
slide,
again.
Everything.
So that slide that has everything and has the
Yeah.
link and has that could be part of the handout also, because then it's there on the table.
Yeah.
But all that information can be shared.
so Kirk and Deborah, are you comfortable with doing these 15-minute presentations with the revised slides? Or are
That
you-
I didn't get that. So we're gonna do the presentation?
Well, it was a question.
Okay, I hadn't gotten that. I hadn't heard that.
I know. Well, Susan was supposed to ask you yesterday, but I guess she didn't.
Oh, no.
So intro 8 to 12, 8 to 10 minutes.
So that would be the housing committee.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
And then after
And
that,
when we
there's-
get into the main presentation, the 15 minutes on affordable housing.
is that above this or
No,
you mean
below
the
it.
next one down? What
Yeah,
page
next
are we
one
on?
down.
Here, this?
Yes, which
Ooh.
you have to fine tune this.
Yeah.
I mean, it
Needs a
really
lot of work.
depends. Yeah, I mean, the thing that I would say is for either of us to do these presentations, we have to be comfortable with what you're,
Exactly.
with the information. And I'm not sure we're there.
Not
So
there
I-
either.
I mean, we could
Yeah.
we could do our presentation because we got
Yeah.
that,
Well,
you
that's
know.
what the next, I was hoping the next two sections would be basically your presentation.
which is
This
here.
one, what it's gonna look like if we don't, maybe
I
we
mean-
don't want that. And then,
I mean, one thing we could consider, Kirk, and again, just not having thought about this before,
yeah,
would be to look at our presentation, see how it fits into these next two sections, and see if each of us could just kind of, as we did before, kind of divide up, you know, do
Who's doing what? Yeah, tag team
who's
it.
doing what, tag team, but really condense it.
really
It's
condensed.
it's gotta
It
be.
has,
Yeah,
it has to
we
be
just
very
really
condensed.
want 15 minutes, like,
Yeah, we could do a
This
lot in
needs to
15
be a
minutes.
lot.
That's a lot. There's a
Yeah.
lot of space there. So,
yeah,
yeah, and you know, so it's Wednesday.
yeah.
Deborah, you're busy, I'm busy, you know, and we're
Right.
both leaving town. I don't know how we're gonna pull this off without there
know.
being a last minute before the 30th. So
Right.
I need suggestions from people. I mean, tomorrow I'm
Yeah.
available to work on with, but you know, Catherine and you and Susan and I need
Yeah.
to get together. And
I
talk
don't
about
have
this.
any time tomorrow, and then I'm gone Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
And then I'm gone Sunday
then
through
he's gone.
Saturday.
Right,
And so
Uh,
we're, you know, it's
It's a
getting,
little tough.
I know.
if we
believe
would
me,
have
I've
had this
been
conversation
panicking.
last week, it would have been better, but
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
However,
we can do
let's
it, but
let's start with getting all the slides to you and
Yes,
getting,
that would be helpful.
and is it just going to you and Susan? Is it going to, you know, how should we get this?
You
know,
can just give it to me and
Give it to
Susan.
you.
yeah,
Okay,
so
give it to
the
you and
slides
Susan.
we're giving are the ones we did on the 9th.
Right,
And then we're giving Evelyn's from the 2020.
yeah,
Right,
And we're then, I can give you my slides from Woodstock Housing Alliance.
okay.
right.
And you can pull some slides from that because I have that one slide with the list and there's some
Right.
other things in there. You can pull whatever you want
Yeah,
from it. And then if you needed to get the Woodstock Housing Alliance's name out of there, just tell me and we'll just take it out.
yeah. But I'm mostly worried about the presentation. So,
About us? About us?
no, about me getting this presentation together.
Oh,
It's not, and you know, obviously, yes, and you guys speak.
but
How-
so if you have the resource, if you have all the slide presentations in
Yeah.
front of you, then
Right.
maybe from there, you'll be able to sort of
Pull out.
pull.
Yeah, well, that's what I tried to do here with these sections, but
Mhm.
you don't think the third section is working. I think the second section's okay.
Um,
The first one, we can change the affordable housing definition.
Well, I think it's important for people to know what is affordable housing, what it is, who's it for.
I think the definition you have is fine.
Okay,
Yeah,
And then two,
I
there's
agree.
other ways in which you can articulate that. And
Yeah.
you have to bring in the element of middle class. You
absolutely.
Right.
have to.
yep,
So it's just, it's real, it's true.
yeah, Yeah,
And, so Catherine, could I suggest that you just take all the presentations and put them in one, add them, get them up into Google? That way you have them all on the same platform, and then
Mhm.
you can just drag into, I mean, you know, whatever, you'll do it, but I'm just saying that maybe what might make it easier if you just take the presentations and get them into Google Drive.
right,
And then they're all and then they're all maybe they're all named differently from different, they have different each presentation, but then you create a third one or a fifth one or whatever it is,
Mhm.
and then you just drag into it, cut and paste. That might
Yeah.
be helpful. At least it'll give you a starting point.
Well, I'm not worried about the mechanics, I'm worried about the content at this point,
All right,
so,
well, let us give the presentations to you and you might
Yeah,
find that there's a
okay.
lot there.
And then if there's some suggestions or things that jump out, now that I kind of have an idea, so I have a question. So you're opening the thing up, the housing committee is going to open it up
yeah,
with 10
Yep.
minutes,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
And then the idea is to either continue with the housing committee talking about what affordable housing is, because
I think so.
it seems like you should be able to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yep, Yep.
Right.
And then it gets into what is being proposed.
And that's where we could definitely pull from the May 9th
Exactly.
presentation.
That's what
Right.
I have these slides listed here. These
Yeah.
are the
Good.
four we thought
Right.
would be-
Right, so
Right.
whether it's these slides or other ones, but that's what it's
Yeah.
gonna be.
And
Right,
then the
so
next
what's-
group is what? The next section
And
is
the
what?
next
Is
thing
where?
This one, but you guys didn't think this was working, so we have to think about it some more.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I mean, this,
Go ahead, Deborah.
no, I'm just thinking this gets to the people think it's gonna be everywhere
Right.
issue. So not to start with a negative, because I don't like to do that,
Mhm.
but we
Yeah, this
aren't,
requires some thought. We have to think
Yeah.
about how we're gonna approach this because it, right now, the way you have it here doesn't work and you can't be negative
No.
up front.
Right.
And we're not here to sell anybody. We're here to articulate what's in the code
and educate them.
and
I mean,
educate them
really,
and help them understand that it's
Help them
a
understand.
friendly thing, not a
Right.
scary thing.
Maybe
So,
we need to say that. I mean,
Yeah, just
you
be
know,
honest.
it's not, it's friendly, it's not scary, it's a town,
you
it's
know,
all of us.
Catherine, maybe when you see the presentation that we give you, you might be able to see what could fit in here with the
Yeah.
material that you're gonna get. There may be something that a light might go off.
Yeah, it may not be so obscure. I think it's hard to take out slides and stick them under a heading and really have with, without sort of more background stuff, granular stuff that you might be able to pull out in one word or two words. So I agree with Kirk. I think the slides will be really helpful.
Okay.
I'll
Are
see if
you
I
gonna
can,
send me the presentation from the 9th?
yes. Yeah, so what I'm gonna do
Oh,
is
not
two
the-
things.
or the- What was the one last month? I'm sorry, I'm getting.
Oh,
We're
rid-
saying
April
we didn't
18th.
really do anything. We just spoke. We didn't have a presentation.
Oh, okay.
Right. I mean, you
And
could look at the
That
recording, but
highlight document is
we have
something.
the highlight document. That's what we used,
Yep.
which that we can send you that.
Okay.
And, but then I could make a copy of the Canvas slides and then create a group that includes you and Kirk. And then you'll have that with the ability to make changes on the slides.
Okay.
What you won't have though, and unless somebody can figure it out, is how to move it into a different platform than Canva. I just don't know how to do that.
Well, maybe I can ask my daughter. But I have a bad feeling I'll be recreating slides. So.
Yeah.
I can ask the question from my colleague at work who does, because I have a Canva account. I do my
Oh.
social media stuff in Canva. I mean, honestly, I just do it right by rote and sort of trial and error, but I can certainly ask the question, can it be converted very
Yeah.
easily? Fine.
Okay,
Yeah.
that'd be good.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
And Catherine, I'm available all day tomorrow. If you need
Okay,
anything that
that would
comes
be
up,
great.
just give me a
Kurt.
call, okay?
Yeah, I'll give you a call.
But
I'll be in the car for 5 hours on Friday.
Oh, gosh.
So I'm happy to speak to you while I'm
Okay.
a passenger.
And, you're gonna also send me the
Evelyn Wright.
tables that Nan created
Which tables? Yes. Oh, well, yeah.
for the fact sheets.
Yes, right. I think you may have them, but I'm gonna send them to you.
Okay.
I'm gonna share a Google folder that has
Okay,
all of them.
Great, that would be great.
Do you want, well, they're PDFs, is that okay?
Yeah, as long as we can print them for the
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
tables, right?
Yep,
yeah.
okay. Great. Right, Nan's sheets.
Is Nan going to be coming? I know we had a discussion last time about inviting
I don't think we need her, honestly.
her. Okay.
I mean, I think it would be great if she wanted to come and do the presentation, but it's a lot to ask and she's not that close by.
And she's gonna bill.
She's
Yeah,
gonna build a
she-
town.
She's gonna bill the town for any time it's used, so it's. It's, that's,
It's an expense.
it
Yeah.
is, it's not light.
It's not
I
nothing.
think Susan suggested it the other week.
What is,
Yeah.
excuse me, what is Nan's
I
last,
think Lorena suggested it, actually.
Howard,
Oh, is
what
it
was that?
Uranus? Sorry.
what is Nan's last name?
Stolzenberg, Stolze
And
and
B,
Berg, Burg,
PURG.
Stolzenberg.
Right.
And so
Hmm.
I'm gonna go.
Yeah, that's fine.
Catherine, I'm available all
Okay,
day
thanks,
tomorrow. Give
Kirk.
me a call, email me, whatever you want to do.
Yeah,
And Deborah, if there's anything that you need from me regarding all the materials you're trying to gather together, let me know tomorrow.
Okay, I
And
will.
then I'll see
Yeah.
if I can help in any way, shape or form.
Yeah,
I think that the recommendations that are listed, the highlight recommendations, all the revisions, I mean, there's a summary of revisions, Catherine, in the,
yes,
on this.
it's really
site.
good.
That's really good. So
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
might be able to look at that summary of revisions and see
Mhm.
what the areas that are like hot
Yeah,
Yeah.
and concerns for people,
Mhm.
and pull that out and put it in a document that can be printed and,
Yeah.
made available to people or used in some way as a talking point.
Right.
That's one thing. And then there's the benefits document, which looks at the benefits for housing and the environment.
Yeah,
of each,
Each
of
change,
each, of each initiative, of
Yeah,
each
each
new
initiative, it has it
recommendation.
takes it on the perspective of what are the benefits to the towns in terms of housing and in terms of the environment. And that's a really good document.
yeah, I've looked at that. That is good.
Yeah, so those are great
the best-
resources. Those are great
best
resources that
for
can feed
handouts
into this, that can
Yeah.
feed this.
Definitely. Okay, thank you, everyone.
Okay.
I wish I could be more helpful.
That's
be-
all right. You
To
need
be
a break.
continued. It's a
Yeah.
work in progress. It's not,
Yeah.
it's only the 15th or 17th, whatever.
Yeah,
it
well,
is.
some of us wanted to take Memorial Day weekend off, but
Yeah.
maybe we won't be.
When you say thank you, are you ending the meeting? Because I have some questions.
All right, well, let's let Deborah and Kirk go.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And stay
Do you
on.
need us for your questions?
No, it's about distributing the
Outreach.
event notices,
Yeah,
Okay,
what it should
Right.
say.
Bye.
that type of thing.
thank you. for
Yeah.
listening.
say goodbye.
I,
Bye.
Okay, I have to go as well. I have to, because, yeah, I gotta go.
No
But
problem.
are we gonna be long? I mean, I don't
No,
want
just
to.
a couple minutes.
All
No,
right.
I did, as far as the radio stations, WAMC and WKZE,